The premium finish line was a short-lived subline where it mainly considered studio series, but it also had 2 figures outside of it. And the whole premises of this was just to give us re-releases of the same molds, but with massively improved paint. And I absolutely love this line. The concept itself is so cool, and all of them look so beautiful. I would love to have these one day. Unfortunately, I can only admire them from afar. There is no way I am getting them due to distribution and due to price as well. I am pretty sad that they ended this line so early because I would love to see so many Studio Series figures get this treatment. But anyways, this video will rank all the Studio Series premium finish Transformers, as well as the exclusives and multi-packs. And just for fun, I'll rank them on this main list, as well as a separate tier list. And let's start with the Studio Series Premium Finish Bumblebee Movie Bumblebee. And this does look very good. I really like the more faded yellow here, because I just personally don't like it when yellow figures are very, very saturated. And so this type of yellow is something that I am a fan of. But besides that, there's nothing really that different to the original. Unlike with other premium finish figures, there's no new paint applications or new metallic paint, at least as far as I could tell. Let me know if you do know if there's any significant difference. But from what I can tell, the only thing different is the aesthetic. But it is better than the original. However, you can't really fix a bad figure with paint alone. It is still a very flawed figure at its core. And with the redo of the Beetle Bumblebee, this is kind of redundant, and you'll be much better off getting that one instead. And your wallet will be better off as well. Due to the sheer redundancy of having this Bumblebee out already, I'll just place the premium finish at the end of D tier. But considering it as an individual figure, I think it's same thing, D tier on the individual tier list. The main difference between the original Studio Series 38 Bumblebee Movie Optimus Prime and the Premium Finish Studio Series Optimus Prime is that the Premium Finish one is slightly more saturated, where the more faded colors of the Bumblebee Movie Bumblebee really worked for that figure. Opposingly, the more brighter colors on this Premium Finish figure actually works better than the original. The brighter red and the nice metallic silver suits the character and the mold a lot. But then again, it is very subtle. And what's also subtle is the small details they decided to paint, like the arms, abs, and thighs, which is very nice, and it does add a lot to the overall look of him. And what's also nice is the fact that they finally gave him the Autobot insignias on the shoulders. And they also gave him battle damage. But I'm not personally a fan of battle damage just in general, and here it's actually okay. It does work, and I do think it's a lot better than any of their other attempts. It is, of course, better than the original. I'll just place him a little bit above the original release. The premium finish is definitely an improvement, but considering the price, I don't think it should be much higher than the original. And speaking of that, I will actually put this Bumblebee in front of Hot Rod. And on this list, I think he belongs in B tier, because paint-wise, it's not really as significant as the other ones. This tier list will focus less on the actual mold, and instead just the actual improvement over the original. When looking at the Premium Finish Studio Series Megatron, I originally thought that there was nothing changed on the Premium Finish one. But looking at them together, they are actually significantly different. I would honestly say that it is even more different than the Bumblebee Movie Optimus Prime. And it looks really good. I'm so surprised at how different they were able to make it when they both use metallic silver paint. And I love the Premium Finish's silver a lot more. It's such a nicer shade. And they also added the copper accents, which I do appreciate. The original had no accents whatsoever, and seeing this mold with those accents is really nice. My only gripe with this is that they should have given this spot to the Revenge of the Fallen Megatron. I mean, it is so obvious which Megatron needed a paint upgrade. But still, the Premium Finish Megatron is amazing, and I think he's one of the best premium finish figures. Therefore, I will place this Megatron above the original and the Revenge of the Fallen Megatron, as well as the Optimus Prime. And on this tier list, I think he's a solid A tier. I do think the copper and the silver adds a lot more than what this Optimus Prime adds. And as for the premium finish Studio Series Ratchet, he does look pretty good. I am happy with the color improvements here. The less saturated green with the added silver on the face and the arms work really well to provide an aesthetically pleasing figure appearance-wise. This is a definite improvement because the original green was a bit unsightly. And the improvements on the face and the arms are really appreciated because the original was very lacking in those areas. However, just like with the Bumblebee, the issue is with the figure itself. Just like with the original, the QC is pretty bad, and adding mold degradation on top of that makes him a pretty bad figure to play with. But I admit, paints and color-wise, I think he's on the same level as Megatron, but as a figure in general, he definitely struggles there. On the main tier list, I will place this Ratchet definitely above the Dark of the Moon version. I do think this color scheme is a lot more appealing. And I'll place him above Shadow Raider, actually behind him. And in terms of just sheer improvements and paint, as I said, he's definitely on the same level as Megatron in terms of paint improvements. And as for the last premium finished figure, we have the Studio Series Optimus Prime. And this might be the best looking one. The paint is so crisp and everything about it is just perfect. There is nothing specific I could talk about. It's just everything as a whole has been improved drastically. The hue of this is so much brighter and so much better than the dull original. And that just makes the vibes of this much better. It is honestly so beautiful. Out of all of the premium finish figures, this is the one with the most changes. In the best way. If they had just started off with figures like this, they would have had a lot more fans. It is so sad that the moment they find their footing, they just quit and cancel the line. I just wish they used the 2007 Optimus mold for this though, because even though I do like this 05 Optimus, I have to admit the 2007 version is a lot more accurate than this one. But still, I would love to have this figure, and he is the best figure out of them all. He surpasses B tier. He belongs somewhere in A tier. I will actually place him above this Megatron. I absolutely love this figure. But what's stopping him from being an S tier is that there are still the flaws in the original figure that carry over to this one, and obviously the price increase. You guys probably already know this. On this list, he is definitely an S. Back in my day, I never bought a Constructicon because I was banking on the fact that they would release them as a box set. And I was right. That saved me a lot of stress trying to find every single part. And don't get me started on the secondary market on them. So yeah, from that, I am a big supporter of multi-packs. They allow for people to get figures that were previously really hard to get, like Ironhide and Jazz. And speaking of those two, let's talk about the Movie 1 15th Anniversary Multipack. And as for Ironhide, this is definitely an improvement. The grey chest and the silver toes work really well, just to change the overall look of this guy in a really good way. There are other subtle differences too, and I do think that it just makes him better looking overall. So I would just place him above the original and one more spot extra. Autobot Jazz was the figure with the most significant change in this multipack. There's no compromises, and it's just a flat out color change to make him a bit more dull. It is more movie accurate, I think, but I just like the original more. I think the brighter colors suit the character and mold a lot more than this. But in the end, it's just up to personal preference. So I'll just place the Jazz right behind the original. Right there. And as for Ratchet, there's not much difference, but I would say it is better. Even though we sacrificed the paint on the shoulder lights, it is 100% a worthy sacrifice. The silver paint on the face adds so much more to this. It's obviously not better than the premium finishes, but it's still vastly better than the original. And so I will place him a few spots above the original, maybe at the top of E tier. And for Optimus, we do lose some paint applications on the shoulders and legs in exchange for the black windows, but I don't know if this is an upgrade, to be honest. It's either a side grade or a downgrade, because the legs look so plain and they do look pretty bad. So I will place this Anniversary Optimus below the Seekers, maybe below Wheeljack too. I don't know, the legs are a massive turn off for me, and I do think that is a significant harm to the figure. And finally, this is the first objective, definite downgrade. Even though we get another head sculpt, there is so much paint that's removed. It is so obvious. We lost the paint in the arms, the chest, and we even lost the metallic rims. It's not good. He will place a few spots below the original. I think he's worse than Scavenger. But as a whole, I do like the set. They are all amazing figures. Maybe not Ratchet though. And if I didn't already have most of the characters, I would have picked this up. It is definitely worth it in my opinion. I think he belongs in S tier. It is a really good multi-pack, and I definitely recommend it. And the next multi-pack is the Movie 1 15th Anniversary Decepticon multi-pack. And let's start off with Starscream. And I'm not too sure what the difference is. I think it's just a flat re-release. So no comments here. He'll just be put in the same place. I mean, on the icon image, it does look different, but in person, I'm not sure if it is. And I also don't know what's the difference with the Megatron as well. Apparently there's just a little more paint on the inside of the thigh, but I would much rather see at least some copper accents. Obviously, I don't expect all of them, just maybe one or two or just a few copper areas. But again, he is mainly just the same figure. So he'll just be right next to the original, but I'll place him a bit higher due to that tiny bit of extra paint. And once again, Blackout has literally no paint differences. That is pretty sad, because I would just like to see any variation in paint, just in any of these guys. The Autobot pack changed so much about it. It is such a shame that they didn't want to do this with this pack. For the third time in a row, Blackout is just the same thing. But for the final character in this multi-pack, we actually have a figure with a different color scheme. And the color for Barricade is a lot more accurate. I do like the head sculpt a lot more, and the hands are no longer grey, which is very nice. However, I do think that there is just a bit too much plain black. I do prefer the original in that aspect, because the original did have more color breakup. But regardless, I think it is still a better release than the original just overall. But it doesn't mean it's a good figure. So he still belongs in F tier. It's a very poorly made figure with bad QC and bad engineering. But at least he's at the top of F tier this time. This multi-pack is overall good. And I do appreciate us getting another chance at owning these guys. But all in all, it lacks the impact that the Autobot multi-pack had. Maybe it's because it's missing one of my most favorite characters, Brawl. And Bone Crusher as well. I would like to see Bone Crusher there too. This multi-pack will be in C tier. Let's move on to the Revenge of the Fallen multi-packs. Starting off with the Autobot one, which has the 32 Optimus Prime. Again, I can't believe we got another 32 Optimus Prime in this multi-pack. But this is different than the previous multi-pack, but in a bad way. This is exactly the same as the original Studio Series Optimus Prime. But let me know if you guys can spot any difference. And I could say the exact same for Jetfire. It's exactly the same. At least this guy is one of the best Studio Series figures, so it's fine, as long as we get a reissue of him. But surely they'll change something with the triplets, right? They're exactly the same as well. I mean, do I even have to rank these? They're just exactly the same, so I won't put them here. But as a whole multi-pack, I do think it's nice. I actually recommend it if you don't have these guys. The fact that we get a Jetfire is amazing. And I think them giving us the ability to form the combined form in one pack is nice. So I do think it's better than the Decepticon set, just because of Jetfire and the combination, I do think it has a lot more play value, and I'll place it at the end of A tier. The final multi-pack that we have is one that hasn't been released yet. It is the Decepticon multi-pack with Megatron, Fallen, and Soundwave. Just going off the Revenge of the Fallen Autobot pack, I think they've just given up on giving us alternate paint, so I won't rank them here. But as a multi-pack, I think it's nice. I like that Megatron a lot, especially since it's the battle damage version, and the Fallen is nice too, given that you like the design. And the Soundwave is okay. The Soundwave is something I expected them to improve on, just in terms of paint. Such a shame that they didn't. I personally think that this is the worst multi-pack of them all. The only reason why you would get this set is just for that Megatron. I think it belongs at the top of D tier. And finally, we have some exclusives. And let's start off with the Studio Series EX Nemesis Prime from both the Rise of the Beasts and the Bumblebee Movie movies. I have no idea about the lore of these guys, or where they're sold, or just anything about them. So if you guys know about them, just let me know in the comments. And I mean, it is nice, and I do appreciate a Nemesis Prime, and the insignias, and the symbols, red windows, and that striking blue is very clean against the black. But personally, I always prefer the colors on the original Prime. I just think we have too many black, grey, and dark Transformers. And so I'll just place both of them behind their respective originals. And on this list, I do admit they are pretty clean, and I'll place them both in B tier. And finally, we have the Studio Series EX Core Class Bumblebee Clear version. And this is actually pretty nice. It adds a lot of novelty, and it's a really cool concept. I do think that this idea is a lot more interesting than the Nemesis Primes, and that clear plastic is really nice. However, I still hate this mold. I just wish they did it for another core class figure, like Shockwave or Starscream. I'll leave him above Nest Bone Crusher. But as a concept and as a deco, it is pretty unique. It is literally the only Studio Series figure. So unfortunately, despite how bad this figure is, the concept itself is an S tier. And so here is the final list of the rankings for the Studio Series exclusives, premium finishes, and the multi-packs. And I always love these types of releases. It's always so interesting to see. And before we finish this video, let's just adjust the main tier list a little bit. And so what I'm going to do is move Frieza and Novocaine just a little bit up. Even though they are still a bit wobbly, it does seem that the overall consensus is that the QC is not that bad. So they will both go above Arcee. And I will move Noah Diaz just a little bit up. I mean, it is true that it does scale well with other figures and it does improve the other figures. The figure as is not the best. And so there we have the final tier list. There is still the Gamer Edition figures, which I might separate into two parts. So that means if you guys have any suggestions, just leave them in the comments below and I can change it in the next two parts. Thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end, and I hope you have a good day or night.